idea. I will find him!
You're a breed. Men are brave.
It's not about deserve. It's about what you believe.
Could've just peed on him.
Like brunch. Like, what is brunch?
The story of the Defiance is well known.
What, we some kind of suicide squad?
Heroes don't kill people.
Well, I do.
Martha! Hello everyone and welcome back to Enter the SnyderVerse, where we're going through every single movie in the DCEU except for this time, which is not technically a DCEU movie. I see your comments. We know. It's part of this 10-year project of DC movies, this strange era that we've been through, and we felt like we should include it, and also we just kind of wanted to, okay? We're talking about Joker. I'm Kyle.
I'm Nathan.
Is that a fair summation of why we're doing Joker?
Yeah, pretty much. Joker, definitely 100% not part of the DC Extended Universe, but...
This is our second iteration of the Joker in 3 years.
Yeah. At one point in time, it was speculated that this was going to be some sort of Jared Leto outing. And then it wasn't.
That would be such a different movie.
Yeah, I think... this is me without doing any research, I apologise, I'm just waffling, that Jared Leto was not happy when Joaquin Phoenix was announced as the Joker because he wasn't sure if he was being replaced. No one really was telling him what was happening.
Uh-huh.
And I believe the next film after that is Birds of Prey, and when you see what they do with the Joker in that film, you'll kind of maybe kind of understand.
I mean, I am so curious about how this movie got made in the first place.
Oh, well, there was lots of yapping back at the time about Martin Scorsese, Kyle.
Yep.
Martin Scorsese was going to direct a DC movie, Kyle, and oh boy, the world was on fire. I'm pretty sure Martin Scorsese had to put out a statement saying, I am not in any way affiliated with this comic book property.
I was going to say, he's generally quite vocally against comic book movies, is he not?
Yeah, he is.
Or not against, but he has some specific views on them. Yeah.
They aren't for him. Yeah, they're not cinema. Yeah, but this film is very clearly based on Martin Scorsese work.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that, Kyle? You're not one of the Martin Scorsese fanboys, are you? It's not in your repertoire.
As we've established, I'm really not much of a movie watcher in general. I've watched one Martin Scorsese movie, I think, and it was Goodfellas, because
yes, you
early on in our podcast career, we experimented with doing,
homework?
I don't know. Homework? Yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, it was like, here's something for you to watch, here's something for you to play, and it was just too much work. Especially for the game, it was a much larger commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so this film is very heavily influenced by the likes of the King of Comedy and, to a certain extent, Taxi Driver. I feel the tone is very much Taxi Driver. I think this film, if you think of the walls of this film to be King of Comedy, I think what seeps through like a goo, like Ghostbusters 2 slime, right?
Uh-huh.
It's just
these chemicals.
Yeah, it's like gross and disgusting and really depressing and overpowering, and it's negative energy. That's Taxi Driver, even if the walls are all King of Comedy. And I think that the hybrid of those two properties, both Robert De Niro led, who's in this film, and Scorsese directed, despite him having nothing to do with this.
This is not directed by Martin Scorsese. This is directed by Todd Phillips, who I know is the Hangover guy. Is that right?
Yeah, he's the Hangover guy. Absolutely.
Would you be amazed to hear that I have actually watched the Hangover movies?
You've watched the Hangover trilogy?
I have.
No way, Kel. You're joshing me, surely.
No, I think I was 14 and I was looking for stuff that might have boobs in it. Was what that was.
Yeah, okay. So you went, the Hangover movies.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember much about them. In the second one, or is it the first one where he's on the roof? It's tied to a bed.
Yeah, Las Vegas Casino. That's the first one. Everyone loves the first one, then everyone hates the other two. I think all three of them are perfectly fine.
The second one is the vacation destination one, right?
They're in Bangkok. One of the other guys.
That's it.
Yeah,
and he
the
gets
dentist
a tattoo and all that.
Yeah, the Mike Tyson tattoo. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, wonderful. simply awe-inspiring films.
Oh yeah.
So this man who made those debaucheries decided we'll do something different. We'll do a comic book, Kyle, didn't he?
Yes. Well, I guess technically speaking,
we are using the skin of a comic book film to tell a film to tell a warning story, a what if of radicalization. Why don't
we'll
we
get to it.
talk about our thumbs up, thumbs down views on this film, Kyle?
Okay, well...
Kyle, what did you think of 2019's Joker?
So, we're on episode 8 of this podcast now. This is the first movie we've done where I've genuinely considered writing a script about it.
Oh my, really?
Well, yes.
Interesting.
This movie, Nathan, it reminds me a lot of Star Trek Picard Season 2. Where it's full of all these really, like, poignant visuals and all these, like, statements about, like, society and all this stuff. And it's so focused on having the appearance of being really deep and impactful that it forgot to actually add any of the depth. It's, like, when you start digging at all these visuals, it's all just surface level stuff, and it makes this an intensely frustrating viewing experience. I did not enjoy this movie. I had a bad time watching it. I don't like it.
Okay, Kyle. I respect you. I respect my friend. I think you are insane.
I have become the Joker.
Yes, you are become him. You are Arthur. This is our second film in 3 episodes where the protagonist is called Arthur. What would Aquaman say if he met this Joker?
Uh-huh.
So I should say, I love this film. I think this film is quite a strong film about systems failing people and how failing systems can cause people to just go over the edge and maybe where they once had sympathy just become completely irredeemable. And also, yes, I think there is a certain element of emotion driven into it. I am of the predisposition where I quite enjoy watching these kind of darker tales. I know it's not necessarily your thing.
No, not so much.
Yeah, not so much. And I am from the predisposition where that is perfectly, I love it. And I just think that for the visual medium that is film, everything, the full package just comes together in a really satisfying way. The lighting, the acting, the cinematography, the dialogue. I think the dialogue's fairly standard, to be honest. I don't think anyone says anything particularly poignant, except maybe at the end.
Uh-huh.
But I do think that there's a lot of subtext in the film without it being spoken. I think the film is doing a lot of heavy lifting. And yes, there's a lot of mental health messaging in this film as well.
I feel like one of us is hallucinating here, and I don't know which one.
Well.
I feel like you're seeing a lot of stuff in this movie that I did not see.
Would you want me to tell you a funny anecdote, Kyle?
Oh, do you want to tell me a joke? Tell me a joke.
It's less of a joke. It's not knock knock, it's the police. But
what, you think I'm some kind of comedian over here? Funny?
I saw this film in the cinema about 6 times. Now,
wow. Okay.
Now, by the 4th time, I was done.
Uh-huh.
And I went to see it another 2 times because there was another film that we wanted to see, but we'd kind of not booked it because we were a little bit silly. I can't remember what the film was anymore. And we were just like, well, we're here. Do you want to go see Joker? And I'd seen it so many times already. At the start of the film, where Arthur gets the shit kicked out of him, and the really depressing, gorgeously, hauntingly beautiful violins kick in, and it just says Joker on block capitals. So the title's so big, it doesn't fit on the screen. The edges of the letters are cut off, right?
Yep.
And when it says Joker in big text in front of you, and it lights up the audience's face, and the really dark violin is playing, that's how I felt inside because I was seeing the film too many times. I like that. The music really spoke to me. I was like, this film is going to radicalise me, actually, because I don't want to watch it anymore.
Well, I vaguely remember when this came out, there was all sorts of, like, controversy about how it's going to inspire, like, shooters and all this crap, right?
A lot of nonsense.
Yeah.
A lot of nonsense.
It's just like GTA all over again.
Yeah, no, exactly right. It's very silly. What do we think of this version of the Joker? Okay, let's put it like that then.
Okay, well, I'm going to say what every film critic ever has said, which is Joaquin Phoenix is very good in this movie, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not going to disparage his performance in it. I think he's very good, he's very physical, he, totally fucked up his body to make this, by the looks of it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever gone further than Christian Bale for some of his projects, but I do agree with you. Joaquin Phoenix looks like he lost a lot of weight for this film.
Mm-hmm. He's got all the mannerisms down. He has a very good Joker laugh.
I think his laugh is simply haunting. A lot of people in fandom say that this Joker is like the successor to Heath Ledger. What do you think of that?
I don't think that. I think they're aiming for very, very different things. I don't think it's fair to say that.
No, so do I. But in terms of a incarnation of the Joker that, broadly speaking, everyone praises and says this is a terrific take. There's so many edgy Photoshop pictures online of Heath Ledger's Joker and Joaquin Phoenix's Joker sort of talking to each other, like Heath Ledger's handing the torch over, saying, "You take it now." No one speaks about Jared Leto. No one's like, "Oh, Heath would be proud," you know. But everyone says that about this version. Everyone's like, "This is it. This is the Joker." Like really disturbing and like speaking to like an underrepresented group of people. You know, that's the take.
I guess. I'm not going to go that far. I think he's good in the movie. I don't particularly love this incarnation of the Joker in general for reasons we'll get to. I don't know where to start. I have so many problems with this movie. Let's start at the beginning. You talk about that scene where the most evil boys in the world beat up a clown and steal his sign for going out of business. Like, what is this, Nathan? Like, are we living in real life?
Well, I am willing to just take it without question that there's silly teens in the world that think it's funny to steal a guy working outside a retail store's sign and run away with it.
It's a compounding issue, right? So I can believe that. I believe less that they're going to start beating him up in an alley. That's a level above, like, stealing a sign. I think the idea... Okay,
I agree.
Nathan, your business is going out of business. Are you going to hire a clown from a clown talent agency to spin your sign? And then are you going to get mad when he doesn't return your going out of business sign? If you're going out of business, I think you've got bigger problems.
Well, it depends how desperate you are to sell your stock. You know, you get lots of businesses that maybe they're part of a chain and they're shutting down one branch, and you're like, right, okay, we need to get all this. We don't have space for this when we let go of this lot.
This is the 80s, Nathan. The corporations are taking over. This is some local business that's going out of business.
Local business going out of business, I'm sure. Okay, well, I can believe everything that this opening scene sets in front of me. Sure, we're wanting our stock gone. We hire someone to advert. It's just like a human poster at that point.
You don't hire someone for that role. You get like your nephew to go out and spin the sign.
Well, there's a clown agency, you know.
Are we just accepting clown agency? By the way, is that a real thing?
I think it is a real thing.
You go to a clown agency and hire a clown.
You would get clowns. Like, what's the thing of like people getting a clown to show up at your birthday party when you're a kid? You know, where'd you get that clown from? Like, you hire a clown. That's like a thing that exists in pop culture. This is the place where the clowns come from. This is like Santa's workshop. This is where the clowns live. You know?
I have trouble accepting clowns in general because does anyone in the world actually like and enjoy clowns?
I mean, no, right? But But you concede that society has accepted that it's a thing that exists for someone.
I concede that we live in a clown society.
Yes, we do live in a clown society. Like, he goes to the hospital later on, you know, he's entertaining the kids. Like, it's a thing.
I think that this is part of a bigger issue I have with the film, which is the film presents a worldview which I fundamentally disagree with. Which is, this film is intensely cynical about, like, the nature of humanity. And there's all these things that happen to Arthur, and it's supposed to be like all these terrible things that are beyond his control, and just people are bad. And there gets to a certain point where I'm like, people aren't like this. real people in the real world don't do this. Even to someone who's, like, obviously, like, mentally unwell, obviously there's some problems with the way we treat mentally unwell people, but it's not this bad.
Well,
it pushes my sense of believability.
A lot of these issues, isolated from every other issue in the film, I think is perfectly believable. It's just when you go, how could all these bad things happen to this one person, that you go, well, that's really unfortunate, isn't it? Like, someone in his work lied about him, you know, and Arthur's not particularly good at being forthright about his own opinion, so he just kind of takes it. He struggles with his own medical conditions and whatnot that make him maybe not so good as a auteur, public speaker, you know? Mm-hmm. He drops a gun in the children's hospital, you know? Definitely his own fault, but he knows already he shouldn't have the gun. Assholes on the subway, you know, being annoying to people. The fact that this
is the one that really pushes over the limit of believability.
Assholes in a subway definitely exist. The fact that they deserve to die maybe is a little bit extreme.
But do they start singing at you? What the fuck was that?
Oh yeah, singing at people in a subway, of course. I see it on public buses.
What?
Oh, Kyle, don't go on public transport, my guy.
I only use public transport. I've never once been harassed by a bunch of singing Wall Street boys.
Well, I've never been to New York, so of course I haven't. But people on public transport yapping when you would rather everyone just mutually sit in silence and listen to their podcasts. Mm-hmm. Oh, is totally, totally a thing that happens.
Maybe this is my Canadian shining through, but this never happens.
Oh, this happens. Oh, I've seen this in Barcelona. I've seen this in here. I've seen it in London. This is a thing that happens. At least it's a European thing, definitely. And the fact that he felt I need to put it in this film. Oh yeah, and I think this maybe also comes from a sense of being aware of history. But New York in like the 70s and 80s was like a really horrible place, like a really grimy, crime-riddled area. Mm-hmm. And I know people obviously Gotham City is meant to be Chicago, but Taxi Driver is New York as a character of the film. And if we agree that this film has got heavy Taxi Driver influences, I can see it, you know? Grungy, New York underground system. Oh yeah, this stuff is all totally believable, at least to me. The only thing that I find difficult to believe later on when we find out he's adopted, why the hell did the adoption agency let the mother keep him, you know?
That's one of the big ones.
That's really the only thing to me. Everything else is perfectly believable.
I've got more.
Okay.
His therapy office gets shut down, and they're closing within a week. And one thing, they didn't know about that, like, you would know about that months ahead of time if the budget cuts were coming. You know how slow politics are, Nathan? That stuff is like all ages in advance.
Cuts to public funding is generally something that people accept as a bad thing in this day and age.
Yeah, it's bad, but I'm saying the fact that, like, hey Arthur, we're closing this week and we have no referrals to you for another therapist because we just don't give a shit. It's not believable to me that, like, they wouldn't, because he asked, like, where do I get my meds now? And she's just like, I don't fucking know. She would know. They would have, like, a referral to, you'll go to this one on 34th Street, and they're taking all of our patients. Because that's how these things work.
I mean, that's optimistic. I don't actually really know if that's how it works. I mean, I would like to think that's how it works, especially in a socialised health service. I don't, know in this instance if that's how it works for them in that city. It could be, this is the only office in the city. We'll send letters out to your house in a few months about new arrangements, but at the moment we've got nothing for you, you know? And it's definitely to make an impact to the audience that Arthur is having every door in front of him shut. You know, it's meant to be really depressing.
I understand that. It crosses depressing and just becomes absurd that all of these things are happening to him.
Well, I maybe it's because for your mind, this film is just being absurd on top of absurd the whole time. With the rest of the things in this film being fairly believable to me, I'm sort of, if you are correct in that life isn't as cynical as that, and I'm not necessarily on board with it is indeed the cynical, I was willing to sort of overlook that watching this because everything else just seemed perfectly believable to me.
Okay, let's get another one. So Arthur, he wants to be a comedian, and he goes to this comedy show, and he does a terrible performance because he's got like a social tech and he's nervous.
Yeah, he bombed on stage, yeah.
And then, like, what we are to assume is like he's like the biggest talk show host in the country, is what it seems like.
Probably in the city.
At least in the city. He gets this clip of a frankly not very funny or entertaining clip of this guy fumbling a comedy skit and broadcast that on TV. It just seems like that's not very good television.
I mean, who are we to critique the programming of Murray?
Of Robert De Niro.
Of Robert De Niro. I just got to say, by the way, can we hold on Robert De Niro for a minute? Crazy that he's in this film.
He's great in this movie. He's having a good time.
He's having a good time. There's a bit where Arthur hallucinates that he's in the audience near the start.
Yes.
And they're having a chat and everything, and Arthur's being like a kind of he almost looks like a kid, you know, standing with his hands clasped and all that. And then Murray Franklin says, "Hey, come on down," you know. Mm-hmm. And then the band play their little kind of transition music tune. And there's like a over-the-shoulder shot of Robert, presumably the character, at least looking up at Arthur coming down. He's doing a little energetic dance with his hands up, waving them around above his head, or at least at head level. That is not Robert. There's no way that's Robert De Niro, Kyle. That is always, even since I saw this in the cinema, so I feel the need to mention this to you, Kyle, even if it's something that no one else will notice. Well, you have
seen it at least 6 times.
At least 6 times, right? And he does the funny little dance, and Robert De Niro would not fucking do that, just because he's just that's too high energy and too wacky for him, especially for him, you know, in this character in this vibe of film, because it's a one shot, right, and it's over the shoulder, sort of blurred out of focus. Him doing a silly, wacky, over the head dance. Arthur comes down. The camera pans around to Robert De Niro and Joaquin Phoenix stand next to each other, but when it pans out over to them, the camera completely has Robert De Niro out of shot for a few seconds, and that's when Robert De Niro steps into shot. I'm utterly convinced of this, Kyle.
Okay, and I can't say I picked up on any of this.
I just feel the need to mention it to you, Kyle.
But Nathan, maybe the whole movie is a hallucination, and you can't tell what's real or what's not real. Ooh.
Oh no! Don't do that to me, Kyle. This is all actually set in Batman's head. This is him like pondering, how did the Joker get started? Was it that one guy that put his fingers in my mouth? Could it be him?
It's back to Murray. Was it Murray Gold or something like
Murray
that?
Franklin.
Murray Franklin.
Murray Gold's the composer of Doctor Who.
Oh, of course, yes. Every single sequence that gets Joker onto that show makes no sense from his perspective. It's like, okay, we had this guy a clip of this guy on our show to make fun of him. How did he get this number? Don't worry about it.
Well, I can't have it in my notes here because we spoke about it for Shazam.
Yellow pages,
Kyle. We talk about how the yellow pages won't make sense in Shazam because it's the future. Mm-hmm. Makes perfect sense in this film.
Sure, fine. Because so you invite on this guy with the intention, I guess, of just bringing on this clearly mentally unwell guy just to make fun of him. That's Murray Franklin's objective here.
It's the 70s.
So you get him in the stage studio. You walk in, and he's wearing clown makeup, and the producer's clearly like, "This is a terrible idea. We're not bringing this clown guy on. He's clearly a freaking sociopath."
No, he's here to make a political statement, Kyle.
Either he's a sociopath or he's here to make a political statement, and either option is bad. And Murray Franklin is so on board to get this guy on the show. He's like, this will be great. This is all good.
He's all about the ratings. He's late night baby. He gets people to tune in. He gets a big fat bonus. Yeah, I totally believe that someone like him would just have anyone on.
I just don't.
Oh yeah, like Jimmy Fallon had Donald Trump on lead up to the 2016 general election. Piers Morgan has all sorts of nut jobs on.
But neither of them were dressed like evil murderous clowns.
I mean, have you seen Donald Trump?
I have. He doesn't look like a clown. I mean, he is a clown, but he doesn't look like a clown.
Well, I mean, he's a comedian. It's part of the act, Kyle. It's part of the act, Kyle. He does say that. It's part of that. He's not... Arthur's like, I'm non-political. It's just part of the act. I want to come out like this. They even address it before he walks out. He's like, listen, I know this awful thing's going on the side.
We'll get to that non-political line, because I have thoughts about that too.
He wanted to come out dressed like this, you know? Mm-hmm. I think, personally, the film does quite a good job at that. For instance, later on, where things going out of control and Joker admits to Murray about doing the thing... This film, just from a filmmaking decision, does a very good job of panning over to the producer in the background, being like, this is insane, we need to cut it. And then you can see, Robert De Niro's like, no, we'll keep it going. Because the film knows the audience is thinking this is all insane. But so the film needs to show there's conflict between characters in the film about it as well. It's almost like the film acknowledging it,
I mean, at that point, he just confessed on camera, you're keeping that in. I mean, come on. But, it's all the build-up to before that I don't buy.
I know, I buy the conflict of two different opposing sides.
Okay, so, well, obviously you're countering all of my points about this not making sense. And I don't believe your counters, but you're trying. I'm trying, Kyle. I find Arthur Fleck doing his practice laughter quite scary. Quite scary?
Yeah, it's quite disturbing. Where one of them tells a joke in the clown locker room, and they're like, the boss wants to see in his office, and he does like a fake laugh walking out the room because apparently something was funny. And the second he turns that corner, stops laughing, straight face. He never got the joke. He was just
reminds
pretending.
Me of Data.
Data's wholesome. Data's wonderful. This is a skinny skeleton man.
Okay. So if half of my problem is that the world of this movie doesn't make sense to me, the other half of the problem is that Arthur Fleck's motivations and what he wants are completely incoherent. I think there's elements to this performance that I enjoy. I like when he's at the comedy sketch and he's taking notes of the things that people laugh at. I thought that was a really great little he doesn't understand humor. I understand.
He's also making note of the wrong things. Yes, right. And that's it's kind of a sad scene, and I understand what it's getting at. It's he doesn't really understand, but he's trying to, and also
that's very upsetting.
Did you see the name of the nightclub?
Pogo? Something like that?
Do you know who Pogo is?
It's a clown, right?
Yeah, a killer clown.
Oh, of course. That's very subtle and clever. Yeah.
Pogo the clown is like a real life serial killer.
Yeah, very good, very good. That's what we call symbolism.
It is, Kyle.
It's when you crash two symbols right in front of your ears and make your brain numb.
It's a comic book movie. It was John Wayne Gacy, Kyle. I had to Google the name, I forgot. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. I felt like because we were here, I couldn't let it pass.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's stuff like that, but there's other stuff. There's a lot of this movie where Arthur does stuff and you just have to accept that it's because he's crazy. Why does he bring that gun into the hospital? It's because
he's keeping it on his person.
But he knows not to bring one into the hospital. He just does it anyway because, drama needs to happen in the movie.
Well, I don't think they exactly have a clown locker where you put all your personal belongings before you come out. You're just showing up at reception and they'll guide you to the ward that you're performing in.
I think the ultimate, he just does it because he's crazy thing is his little dances. He does a lot of slow-mo dances throughout the movie.
I love his dances. His dances.
What are those supposed to mean? What do they symbolize other than him just being a crazy cookie guy?
I think that's him sort of embracing what he's done. He's okay, here's a desire I've always had, or not a desire, but something that maybe past me would have shied away from. And I just got to embrace it. That's him. That's almost, it's like a tick he has, like a celebratory tick. I mean, the first time he dances is after he kills the Wall Street guys.
There's dances before that. His first dance that I can recall in the movie is when he first gets the gun. He dances in front of the TV and he shoots the wall.
Well, that's true. Well, that's him thinking he's a big shot. That's how because he's talking to himself like he's met a girl in a bar, and he's like, "Hey, you're a pretty good dancer." I think those dances are different. I think that dance specifically is him sort of playing out a fantasy of walking up to a girl in a club and speaking to her and wooing her with his dance skills. You know, I do think that if you want to think of how in movies you get diegetic music and non-diegetic music. I would almost say that's like a diegetic dance. That dance is like in the film, and then like the other dances, like when he kills in the public bathroom when he's by himself, the signature dance of the film probably.
Yeah.
That almost is like a non-diegetic dance. That is outside of the actual events of the film. That's for the audience, That's symbolic. Yeah. That's a transcendent
symbolic
dance.
of him losing his brain, sure, yeah.
Or of him, not evolving, but of him transforming into something else. He isn't the same person he was before.
Into becoming the Joker TM, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You get Kyle, you get it. You're not lost on it at all.
I get it. I just think it's stupid.
Oh, that's a shame. I love it. I love it.
Okay. Crazy people don't think they're crazy, right? This is a normal thing that we all generally agree upon.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Maybe from the outside, their actions don't make sense, but internally they have some sort of logic to them of this is why I'm doing this and doing all these things. And
at the end of the film, he explains everything.
Yeah, but his explanation is incoherent.
He did it because they were awful.
Yeah, but...
And then he says that no one's listening anymore. People just shout and argue, and it's just too much for him.
Yeah, it's maybe PC culture gone mad. Yeah,
he's overstimulated potentially. Every avenue for help has been shut down.
He says he's not political, right? He says it wasn't a political act.
Yeah, but
does Joker support or not support the clown riots, which are a background detail in this movie of this sort of I don't know, BLM thing they're doing with clown masks?
Oh, the clown riot started. There was unrest in the city.
It's more like an Occupy Wall Street thing, I guess.
Yeah, the city was reaching a bubbling point. Nothing there was the garbage men were going on strike. The city was in chaos, but I don't think
there was super rats, Nathan.
There were super rats, right? And nothing was really being done. And then because it's his job to be a clown, he does a thing. The protests come after his actions. So I don't necessarily think he's doing anything in response to the protests. He's just seeing the protests.
No,
he instigated accidentally, really, by the clown. He gave a face to it.
That's not why I'm not. Does he intentionally do it? I know he didn't intentionally do it, but when it happens, does he support them?
I don't know if he cares at that point. When he goes to see Thomas Wayne at the theatre. That's got nothing to do with the riots. I agree. Well, they're all wearing clown masks, I'm sure, are they not?
They are, but he's not going to assassinate Thomas Wayne at that point.
Yes,
it's all to do with his fake father nonsense drama.
I know he's there for other reasons, but as he's walking through the crowd, he's pumping his fist in the sky. He's smiling, looking around.
Right.
He enjoys being part of something.
But is that his motivation? Because he says later that he doesn't have anything about that. What are we supposed to believe about him and what he wants? Does he want to be a figurehead of this movement? Because at the end of the movie, he's up on the police car and he's dancing and he's happy that they're all cheering at him. Is that what he wants?
I think by the end of the film, he really is Arkham City Joker with goons that wear clown masks, I think by that point he is just some sort of
building up to.
I think at that point he is embracing some sort of anarchist symbol. I mean, what do you think the movie was building up to, Kyle?
Nothing. I don't think it was built. I think the movie's bad, Nathan.
I just disagree. It's watching someone be radicalized more and more and more through different various avenues, everything building up around him.
Radicalized into what?
Into destructive behaviour. He's down with society. He's now a crazy anarchist.
Okay.
Do you not think those riots are fairly anarchist-like? Flipping police cars and crashing into ambulances? It's absolutely insane. These people are unhappy, but they don't. These unhappy people don't have direction. He has definitely become a figurehead. Maybe these people believe he has a vision, but he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just a crazy grifter.
No, I know. I understand. I just don't see how that's meaningful or impactful in any way.
Well, you go, okay, well, that was awful. We don't want that kind of person in our society, me, the audience. We should do things to prevent these things. we should have more transparency. We should maybe not shut down people with mental health avenues for treatment.
But even before that place was shut down, it was already pretty clear that it wasn't helping him.
Well, it was underfunded. They weren't doing a good job. That lady didn't remember a thing about things she'd told them in previous sessions. It's possible they did know they were shutting down for weeks and she just never told them.
Okay, well then, maybe shutting down that place is good then.
Or you reform it. You need something. Clearly, he was given nothing.
The movie doesn't present that as an option, though. The movie, to me, just comes across as like everything is fucked and we're all fucked.
Oh, it's like a warning. It's a warning. It's a tale, you know? It's a don't let this happen to you. I don't necessarily think that the film has to show me an alternative. That would be like a whole different film. I'm fine with this film just being horrifically downtrodden, and then we as the audience get spooked and go, well, let's not do that in real life. That looks pretty wacky.
I mean, this gets back to my first point, which is I don't believe any of this happens in real life.
Well, I mean, you do have radical people. You know, like, this film doesn't need to be based on a true story. This can just be, here's how people go down these steps. Here's examples of things happen. Obviously, people don't shoot people in subways that start riots and put on clown masks.
People don't go down the steps enough to become the Joker.
Well, this is an extreme example. Of the most effective examples of anything in a hypothetical situation is always going to be the extremes. That's where everyone jumps for Hitler.
Not if they're too extreme. Not if they're too extreme to be believable.
I mean, I think this film is like grounded enough. If Batman showed up, I think it wouldn't be believable. There's clearly no Batman in this world. What?
Batman? I mean, Bruce Wayne shows up.
He's a kid. That's not Batman.
I mean, his parents get shot in an alley in the most matter-of-fact way possible. He's going to become Batman.
I love it. Frankly, that would be speculating into Joker 2 Folie à Deux. Mm-hmm. We're not there yet. Well, I can't wait for us to talk about Joker 2 Folie à Deux.
Are we going to do that on this podcast?
I think we should, and Batman 2.
Going to revive this podcast just for those two movies.
Yeah, and the Penguin TV show just finished as well.
Oh boy, of course.
Kyle, this is it. Is it the Joker and Batman side episodes are actually going to be the spin-offs to keep this show going? What do you think of Arthur's card that explains his laughing tick?
It's fine.
It's fine. The lady didn't give him it back, Kyle.
I noticed that. Yeah, that bothered me too.
What is the exact moment in this film where you were like, okay, I have no sympathy for Arthur?
It's probably around about the time, actually I know when it specifically, he goes to Arkham Asylum and he talks to that guy from Things.
Yes, I was so happy when he showed up.
I can't remember what thing he's from right now, but I definitely recognise him.
It's Brian Tyree Henry. He is in
is he one of the Eternals?
Yeah, he's one of the Eternals.
Yeah, okay.
He's in Bullet Train, the Brad Pitt movie. I love it. He's such a good standout character in that film. Terrific. Yeah, he's a funny actor. Love Brian Tyree Henry. Yeah. Great guy.
He's like one of the nicest guys in this movie, basically. He's just like a guy, he's just trying to help out.
He's just a
Arthur.
clerk. He's just doing his job.
Just being pleasant, and Arthur steals that fella from him, like, come on, Arthur. This guy's being genuinely nice to you. You don't have to do this.
Yeah, he doesn't, but he's desperate, Kyle. He's on the edge.
But he reads the file and he doesn't learn anything that he didn't already know.
I mean, it confirms it. I think he thought everyone was lying to him because he was paranoid.
And I guess security is probably lax in Arkham Asylum since he just sits in that stairwell and no one comes and gets him.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he isn't there for very long. Like, he probably did move on, you know? He was there for less than 60 seconds. I imagine even in that situation you can afford yourself a minute.
Well, that's also when they introduced this, like, whole thing of, like, well, maybe Arthur's not sick. Maybe he has brain damage because he'd like, hurt his head real bad when he was a kid.
Well, it's nurture versus nature, isn't it?
And as you say, the fact that they returned him to his crazy, abusive mum is insane.
Absolutely insane. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Kyle.
All of the stuff with him thinking he's the son of Thomas Wayne... It strikes me as like film theory bait is what it is.
Well, I mean, it's the reveal that the mother is insane, and maybe it's a shot at fan theorists that the old mum. That's how everyone on Twitter comes across as speculating wildly to make it all tie in and connect. And then you go, actually, no, this is Rey Skywalker, Kyle. This is Rey Last Jedi. This is you are no one. Your parents are no one.
But I never believed for a second that the Joker was Thomas Wayne's son. That was like an Austin Powers level twist.
Well,
it's ridiculous.
I should say, Kyle, what we should keep in mind here is you, and to a certain degree I, do film criticism and analysis as a hobby, and for you, it's like career. We are not your average audience member, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess.
I think that for a lot of people that probably worked. You know?
Well, on that same front, are we supposed to believe that his fake girlfriend, obviously fake girlfriend, is real?
I never bought her as being... I knew she was a real character, I just imagined he was hallucinating her.
Uh-huh. Are we supposed to be surprised that that was a hallucination?
Probably to the same extent. Or maybe like you're not supposed to be sure. Like maybe she's there sometimes. Like I believe maybe his neighbour would come to the hospital with him to support him when his mother's in hospital.
Uh-huh.
You know, I can support that. But even somebody going to the comedy club, I can believe. The opening the door and kissing, that's not real, right?
Uh-huh.
Each other seen by themselves, though, what's wrong with just having a friendship, you know? Even if he sees it as being a little bit more seedy and sinister and disgusting.
It comes that none of it was real. He hallucinated all of it.
Yes, he did hallucinate all of it.
Is that what's that doing in the movie? Because all it does is make Arthur way less sympathetic. It's like, oh, he's a creep and he probably murdered her off screen. It's left ambiguous.
Yeah, I think in the next film we might get some sort of court trial about that. I think it is meant to just underline just how alone he is. Like he's inventing friends.
Okay. But he does legitimately stalk that woman.
He does legitimately stalk that woman.
I'm having a hard time arguing with you because I feel like we're on two different planets.
Do you think you're both experiencing the same thing, but just having totally different takeaways?
Yeah, I understand that he's mentally unwell, but there is a certain point where it just doesn't matter, and even if you don't think super straight about these things, a lot of this is still your fault.
He brought a gun into the children's hospital. He knew he shouldn't even have a gun. They're his fault.
Yes.
Like, he probably should have lost his job for that, but he also shouldn't have people offering him firearms when they know he isn't allowed to have a gun. Then they lie about it and said he tried to buy it from the guy. He was given it. You know,
I don't understand that guy's motivations at all.
He's just an ass. He would just be jealous of someone.
But he's not, because he comes over to check on him later, and it seems like that's a pretty sincere moment.
I think that's to cover up. I think, Gary, or is it Jerry? You know, the British clown. Uh-huh. I think he's there sincerely. I think the other guy, I can't remember his name, I think he is there because they're talking about getting their story straight. He has a suspicion that he might have something to do with all this. And he is there to try and see if... Because the detectives had been to him to speak to Arthur about it. And he was like, yeah, the police came to the place of work and all that as well. He wants the story to get straightened out. He's trying to get away from, liability for any of this. That's what he's there.
So it's fine that Arthur murdered that guy then, is what you're saying?
Well, no, but you say that, like, he was there to, like, check on Arthur and see how he was doing. That's not why he was there. He's just a selfish ass, He's the kind of person in the film that you go, if you didn't deserve to die, I'm probably the most okay with you dying. I quite like, he's doing bits on Gary, Kyle, I have that in my notes. Where he's like...
Whatever.
He's like, yeah, you're always good to me. And he's doing a little bad accent. He's like, hey, it's crazy, innit? Me on the telly. And then he's like, okay, you can go. And then as he walks by him, he puts his hands on and he goes, hey! And he freaks him out. And then Gary needs to get Arthur to come and open the door because he's a short person. And he gives him a kiss on the head. Says, you were always good to me, on you go. It's like that. It's such an uncomfortably funny scene. Were you just straight-faced watching that the whole time?
Yes.
Oh, no, I get a wee chuckle, Kyle, I gotta say. The film thoroughly has won me over by that point.
I'm trying to think if there's any point in this movie I actually found funny. I mean, there's not much that you're supposed to find funny, to be fair. For a movie called The Joker, it's not that funny.
I mean, I don't think I would want this to be a comedy, to be quite honest with you.
It's just so pretentiously serious is what it is.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. What about when he's leaving and he's packing up his locker from his job and he's like, I forgot to punch out, and he just destroys the clock-in machine?
Does Arthur have confidence or doesn't he? Because that seems like a guy who has severe anxiety. It seems like something he wouldn't do.
That's him having like an emotional overflow. Like people with anxiety can have it, kept inside them, and they're very feeling comfortable to express themselves. But you can have like an emotional breakdown. That was like an expression of anger. Like I can believe he has a little outburst. Outbursts happen.
just sighing a lot is what I would do.
We are on two different planets for this.
I just cannot see what you're seeing in this movie.
What do you think of Arkham Asylum not being a big gothic Victorian mansion in the middle of nowhere?
I'm fine with that. It's just a visual. This is the visual choice. Whatever.
You sound so defeated.
Oh, let's talk about Thomas Wayne, shall we?
Let's talk about Thomas Wayne.
So, was he added to this movie later? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff about like the Waynes and all of like the Batman connections in this film are so superfluous.
Yeah, I mean, I would say because the mum says she used to work for Thomas Wayne and how he's going to help us, he'll save the city, he's going to be mayor. Mm-hmm. It does kind of add to the intrigue of, oh, well, actually, are you the bastard son? I know, like, you'd say very clear, don't necessarily think I was on board with it, but she really did work for him. Like, even if you maybe think it would be a bad twist, I don't think the film is ever directly advertising to you, no, this is not true.
Are we supposed to hate Thomas Wayne?
I think he's supposed to be symbolic of, like, rich capitalists telling you he knows what's best. The film doesn't ever actually go into the policies. It's just like, I know what's best, I can save the city. Because
right.
Thomas Wayne is usually painted as some Tony Stark philanthropist that'll make everything okay.
Yeah, but we're doing the thing where actually Batman is a fascist or whatever. Yeah, sure.
Well, the Waynes. Batman's a child here.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I kind of struggled to muster up hate for the guy. He made a mistake in one of his speeches, but I think he was pretty well within his rights to punch Arthur in the face.
So do I. I have my notes here. Good punch, Thomas. I said the scene between Arthur and Thomas in the bathroom of the theatre is the only scene in the film that I am uncomfortable with in not a way that is entertaining. I just find it really sort of awkward having Arthur's entire life just sort of shattered in front of him by Thomas, who just seems like a fairly, well, maybe part of the establishment elite person, just kind of telling him it straight in a really sort of non...
I mean, the guy came up to his front gate and put his hands in his son's mouth. I would punch him too. Absolutely.
Hence why in my notes I've got good punch, Thomas, right? I don't necessarily hate the punch. I just find the scene, just something about the construction of it, just quite uncomfortable. I don't
weird
know why.
Take on Alfred, by the way.
Very weird take. I don't like this Alfred. I don't like this Alfred at all. Maybe it's not the actor's fault. It's just
clearly this is not Alfred who participated in Pennyworth: The Origins of Batman's Butler and became a spy or whatever.
Yeah, this is not some elite spy man. This man is just having a good old time. He worked for like a minor royal somewhere before this. Absolutely. I've got my notes here that everyone's watching Charlie Chaplin. The Joker is laughing at Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
I am Arthur here. I also enjoy Charlie Chaplin, Kyle. This is how we I go, aha, you're just like me. I also like silent slapstick comedy.
Yeah, and it's all these rich people watching a silent film. It's very strange.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I like Charlie Chaplin. I like silent film to a certain extent as well, so that's fine.
Okay, but it's the 80s, Nathan. They should be watching Star Wars.
No, this is a fancy night. That's schlock. That's like having everyone today going and watching Shrek.
I'm sure Jeff Bezos watches Shrek all the time, Nathan.
God. No, they go and watch Joker, Kyle.
I have here in my notes, don't you have to be funny to be a comedian? And then it just says, insert relevant cancelled comedian for joke here.
Yeah, I never kind of took it that far. I don't even really know what you meant by that.
I just, like, you don't have to be funny to be a comedian. But then, I don't know, Ricky Gervais is still a comedian with it despite not being funny. So, you know, haha, memes.
Yeah, okay. Oh, fair enough. I also did get a chuckle from that line in the film. So, well, that's just horribly brutal from your mother, who at this point I thought who liked you, you know, calls him happy.
Thing that maybe you can try and explain to me. Why does he kill his mum?
Well, because he's been lied to and chained to a radiator, and
was that by his mum or was that by the abusive ex-boyfriend? Because they don't really clarify.
It is kind of grey. I think possibly he blames her for letting it happen.
But he doesn't even remember it.
Well, it's possible when he read this file and everything came shattering back to him, he remembered everything. The film also, I will agree with you, does not do a particularly good job in clarifying that. Like, his mum is also, because at this point he's just committing murders all over the place. By the time he kills his mum, he's already killed the guy in the apartment. No, he hasn't killed, he hasn't killed him yet. He hasn't.
His mum is his fourth murder, yeah.
Yeah. But I think, like, at this point he knows sort of everything's sort of caving in around him, and my mum is the last person sort of keeping me tethered to society, and she isn't necessarily a good person. She's a hindrance. She's been lying to me. My life could have been different if it wasn't for her. He's just resentful and, keep in mind, unstable. I don't condone the killing of anyone's parents. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, right, okay, I cut my strings and there are no strings on me. I am Ultron from Avengers Age of Ultron 2015. And now I'm free. And now that is what allows him to become Joker trademark 2019.
And he does the funny dance down the stairs.
He does the dance down the stairs. Me and friend of the show Ryan, we recreated this scene in Edinburgh one evening. Edinburgh, for those that don't know, a lot of it's quite a hilly city, and there's lots of stairs in places, and it was quite late at night, and yeah, we danced down a steep set of stairs to this music with someone recording us at the bottom of the stairs, and we're quite drunk, and it's a very funny memory in my brain. The video looks horrific.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the last scene of the movie?
The big standout scene. I should say, by the way, similar to what we've done for previous films, where I note when the song comes on. Gary Glitter, Rock and Roll Part 2, comes on 1 hour 30 minutes. And that's our first song.
There is music before that. I mean, they sing like "Here Come the Clowns" on the bus, right?
Yes, but that's diegetic.
Okay, fine.
I always note down, because in Suicide Squad nothing's diegetic at all, and that's why I'm noting it down, because it's for the audience. I'm like, why are you doing this for the audience? There's no impact.
So the last scene we cut to Arthur Fleck, and he's in Arkham, I assume, and I don't know.
We're not going to talk about him killing Robert De Niro.
Yeah, okay, sure. He kills Robert De Niro. That's like the one good scene in the movie.
Oh, you enjoyed that scene, Kale? Tell us what you tell you what. You spent so much time slagging this film. Why don't you discuss what you like about this scene?
Okay, it's still not a great scene, but at the very least, it has a good sense of tension and build up. And everyone they have these random old people on the couch next to Arthur for some reason.
One of them's called Dr. Sally. It's another chat show kind of guest that's on that night.
Yeah, and they have this thing where it's you can't tell jokes about that because you can't say anything these days. PC culture gone mad.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's just because obviously, I know he's going to shoot Robert De Niro. I assume even if I didn't already know that, I would figure that out pretty quickly.
Probably.
Because his original plan is to go and shoot himself in the head, I think.
Yeah, he's going to commit public suicide. Public Sudoku.
Yeah, because he has that line in his journal about how he hopes his life will make more sense than his death or whatever.
Great joke. I applaud.
I think I said it backwards there, but whatever.
You hope he will make more sense in death than he did in life? I know, I have it quoted down somewhere. It doesn't matter, continue.
But yeah, there's a good build-up of tension in that scene where Robert De Niro slowly realises the extent of the mistake he's made inviting this man on his show.
Yeah, it's a slow realisation, but he gets there.
Yeah, and then it's okay, I guess there's something about media and media glorifying serial killers or something.
Media glorifying people that are in need of actual help.
It plays that stalk music music over TV screens.
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah, they're we're experiencing some interruptions at the moment.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be. I'm pretty sure if that happened on TV, they wouldn't re-air it later. I think there's probably some age restrictions about that sort of thing being shown.
Different channels will probably air it right up to before the bullet gets put into them. It'll be on some reel somewhere that someone will keep for 20 years and they'll post it online 20 years later.
And then, but the last scene of this movie is the whole was it all just a fake imaginary story scene? Because he's actually just in a crazy asylum.
No, so I don't think that. I think that this all really happened, Kyle.
I think so too, because otherwise the whole movie, what's the fucking point of watching it?
Yeah, there's a time jump, because after they pull him out of the crashed police car and he uses his blood to redo the smile on his face, and everything's just depressingly gorgeous, and it cuts to him in the mental asylum. And then that there's a time jump there, and the "you wouldn't get it" meme that everyone talks about, him sitting there with smoking a cigarette.
A lot of smoking in this film, very 80s.
Lot of smoking in this film. And then we cut to him walking slowly down a corridor with blood in his feet, so he probably killed that psychiatrist. To Frank Sinatra's That's Life, which was the outro song for the Murray Franklin show for the whole film.
Yep, because he's crazy now, and he just murders people for no reason.
He is the Joker, Kyle.
He is the Joker TM, yep.
He is the Joker. He is
and
Mark Hamill.
I'm supposed to find that deep and poignant, am I?
I mean, listen, we always speak about these weird anti-hero films where, Venom can't truly be a baddie because he's got to be somewhat likeable to the audience, and that kind of strips out the villainy. Same with, the Suicide Squad or Harley Quinn or something like that. I kind of appreciate this film. It's no, actually, this person is just bad. This film is just about a baddie. This is the downfall of someone who became one of the most iconic villains in the pantheon of comic book villainy. I'm fine with it. I'm absolutely fine. I think the film is terrific. I think Joaquin Phoenix deserved his best picture.
I am generally someone who doesn't think that the Joker needs a backstory.
I mean, I don't think he needs it, but I'm not going to critique someone doing a good job at giving it a fair punt.
Look, I love the Joker. I do. But he's not a deep character. He's never been a deep character. His whole point is
he's
just
an idea.
To be... Sure, yes. I mean, that line is stupid, but yes, he is the he's supposed to be the antithesis to Batman. Batman is order, he's chaos. It's that whole thing going on. But he works better as a story element than as a focal point. He works to bring out stuff in other characters. I don't think on his own starring role he makes any sense. Because he was never designed to make sense. He was designed in the 40s to be an evil clown murderer.
I mean, I think this film does just a wonderful job at sort of proving you wrong.
I mean, it doesn't, because it doesn't. I don't know what to tell you.
Listen, Kyle. I know, we don't know what to tell each other. This is an episode where we're just simply at odds.
I think the most we've disagreed so far.
This is the most we've disagreed so far. I think this is just simply a wonderful film. I also don't necessarily think the Joker needs a backstory, as I just mentioned. The Joker's backstory changes a lot, in the 1989 Batman film that Michael Keaton starred in. The Joker is the person that shot Bruce Wayne's parents in the alleyway.
Yeah, I know.
But, that's also not supposed to be the story of who shot Bruce Wayne's parents. But it works for that one film to sort of tie everything back around. Just for that one film, even if the larger point of Batman is it was just some unnamed thug, it didn't matter, it was a random killing, It
was Joe Chill, Nathan, that's his name.
I don't care.
You're not cramming for the Joe Chill backstory.
Where's Joe Chill 2019? No, Kyle, I must say I'm not crying for it. And I wasn't even necessarily chomping at the bit for a Joker standalone film, I've got to be honest with you, Kyle. And that's why I think that what's good about this film is it doesn't really rely on the source material.
No, you could cut out all the DC stuff.
You could just say instead of Gotham, it's New York, and instead of Bruce Wayne family, it's Mr. Smith's family. And the rest of the film can exactly happen. Yeah, sure, why not? There's no post-credit scene with, a small little Kryptonian spaceship landing on Earth.
They do have the scene of Batman, of Bruce Wayne standing in the alley like, I'm about to become the Batman TM.
I'm about to become Batman right now. I'm going to invert this jacket I've got on. It's going to be a cloak.
Yeah.
I remember there were some calls after this film came out because at this point, Robot Batman's Batman hadn't come out.
Yeah.
And people thought, oh, this would be because people it hadn't been confirmed, but the DC was kind of on its way out at this point.
I mean, we're only halfway through our podcast, Nathan.
Well, we knew that, like, at this point, we thought we knew anyway, Ben Affleck was done as Batman, and Robot Bat was going to be our new Batman, but it wasn't set in the DCEU. Why are we doing two separate Elseworld stories? It's all got to be connected. This is the perfect time to reboot. Let's put Walking Phoenix up against Robot Bat. Thankfully, that's not what they done. I think smartly, right?
Yeah.
But that was what people were calling for at the time. There was also some fake screenshots that were going on at the time. I believe this is screenshots, pictures, images that people had on that were reportedly from the set of the Joker film. On the back of a flat-bedded lorry was the 1960s Batmobile.
Can you imagine if Adam West walked out in this movie?
Would you have liked it anymore?
I would have loved it if he's like, we'll stop you, Joker. You won't get away with it this time.
No, I think it would have been some like new take on Batman, but that would have still been the car. But thank God that was all fake, right? Let's just say that, right? So there was lots of calls for, and Walking Phoenix, by the way, not someone who's a fan of franchises.
No, he's a proper artsy actor. I know.
He was offered the role of Doctor Strange before Benedict Cumberbatch and turned it down.
That would have been weird.
Well, he's a wonderful actor, you know?
He is, but, like, I don't know. Benedict Cumberbatch is pretty much perfect casting for Doctor Strange.
He has sort of defined the role, I suppose, but, you know, you never know other castings that you never see. But again, he turned it down. Now, we have seen a change in that belief, because after the $1 billion box office of Joker on a $60 million budget, and the back end thing that the leading star probably got from that, he's just, even this was the only film he ever made before or after this, he'd be set for life.
And now we're getting Joker 2.
Fully adieu. It's
Lady
Gaga. It's going to be great, Kel. I'm loving it.
It's going to be a musical. It's got a budget. What did you say that you were telling me about this the other day? It has like a budget of $200 million. $200 million. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, like Walking Phoenix is getting a raise, rightfully so. But
is the Joker going to fight Zod? What the hell's going on in that movie?
It's costing $10 million more than Dune Part 2, that is broadly seen to be one of the best films of the 2020s, probably, at least of the last 10 years. It's better than the first Dune movie in every way, and it's supposed to be this action blockbuster Star Wars level spectacle, and somehow Joker's costing $10 million more? God. Listen, I think that Joker 2 Fully Adieu might be absolutely amazing. Lady Gaga is really, really wanting that Best Actress Oscar, right? She really wants it. And after
she's not going to get it for Joker. Superhero movies never get Oscars, apart from Suicide Squad 2016.
Walking Phoenix won the Oscar for Best Actor.
Did he? For Joker?
Yes, he won an Oscar for this performance.
I did not realise that.
Yeah, I think it was up for Best Picture. I can't remember if it won. Hold on, cut all this. Let me quickly Google it.
Okay, we just cut like 5 minutes of Googling. Don't worry about it.
Lady Gaga, because of Walking Phoenix winning Best Picture, and she's desperate for the Oscar for The Star is Born. Remember that film with Bradley Cooper that they done?
I do.
Like, she wants an Oscar, and she's probably...
Did she win an Oscar for that movie?
No, she didn't.
I thought she won like Best Original Song or something like that.
I don't think so. I don't believe so.
Let's not Google more awards.
Let's not Google more. She definitely didn't win for Best Actress, which I think is what she's after. And after Walking Phoenix won it for Best Actor for Joker, now she's joined this. Like, that's what her sights are on. She thinks they can make lightning in a bottle ×2 for this, right? And now it's $200 million. It's going to be a musical, probably to play to Lady Gaga's strengths. I think she'll be an interesting Harley Quinn. Unless this is going to have some wild, like, remember the episode of House, where House is hallucinating and having musical numbers and stuff?
Music, and there's like a zombie segment as well, right?
Sure. Unless they're going to do that in this film, but...
That's what it has to be, right, with that budget?
like just massive, insane song and dance sequences that are out of this world, but it's all part of a hallucination. It just, because folie à deux in English means madness of two, right?
Yeah.
So it's this romance film, Kyle.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
But
I'm sure that's what all the dude bros who love Joker are clambering for.
So I happen to think everyone that likes Joker 2019 is going to hate Joker folie à deux. I firmly believe that. But that doesn't mean I'm going to hate it.
Uh-huh. You're a step above the average DC bro.
I am a step, but I am better than them. Thank you, Kyle, for saying that. So I didn't have to say that I'm better, but you have done it for me. But yeah, so I'm really interested to see what this insane budget is going to be. The pictures of the film look nice. It looks like a gorgeous film. The studio system is just over budgeting stuff because
I guess because of this podcast, I have to go see it now.
You have to see Joker 2, folie à deux.
Have to go see it in a fucking cinema. Yep.
You do. You have no choice.
What do you get when you cross a mentally unwell person with a society that treats them unwell? You get what you fucking deserve.
You do. And what we deserve, Kyle, is the outro for this episode.
Well, first we need to establish what we're doing next, Nathan.
Next week, I believe, Kyle, we're doing Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipations of One Harley Quinn.
Next week we are indeed doing Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. We're keeping on Joker theme, I guess.
We love clowns, don't we, Kyle? We love clowns.
I love clowns so much. I love that clowns are such an essential part of the DC universe, you know.
Send
really
in the clowns.
I don't know. I'm curious about this because I know from previous conversations that you don't like this movie very much, Birds of Prey.
Listen, I haven't watched it since the cinema, and everything melts with time, you know?
Uh-huh.
Fires smoulder, and, you know, flames begin to go out, I guess. I think for me, the flames will probably have gone out, and my hatred of this film will probably be less. I always did find it weird. I was like, why are we doing this? I always felt that Harley Quinn wasn't much without the Joker, historically.
Mm-hmm.
But we can talk about it when we get there, I suppose. So ring us out, Kyle.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to this hate-filled rambles / unabashed praise. Nathan, where can people find you?
Everyone can find me at Nathan Tinney on Threads, Twitter, Hive, of course. How could I forget?
Hive.
Blue Sky. You know, I'm everywhere. You can find me on Instagram at Nathan Tinney as well. Any all good social media bookstores. That's where I am, Kyle. And where can they find you online?
People can find me at Kyle the Scott on YouTube. That's the main place, and all those other places that Nathan said as well, but I don't use them, as per usual. And thank you for listening, and we will hear from you next time for Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.